So we covered prompt design. Now I want to finally go back and look at some of those basic settings and sliders that we've ignored so far. So again, in this episode, I'll break it into chunks, but we're going to look at the steps parameter, the seed value, what they call the CFG scale, or like the prompt strength, and then the choice of scheduler or sampler. So let's take a look at those in Dream Studio first. So over here, we've got the image width and height, kind of self-explanatory. But yeah, we're going to start by looking at the steps and the CFG scale here, choice of sampler, and then the seed value, which you can set. And then I do want to try and look at free tools as much as possible. And it seems like the community has landed on this tool called Automatic 1111, or I'll call it Auto 1, I think for short. So in here, we've got the sampling steps here, the seed value down here, sampling method up here, and CFG scale right here. I'm going to start with the steps parameter. So the basic explanation for this parameter is that more steps means a more detailed, more refined image. But I think that explanation can be a little misleading. So I want to actually give you a quick tutorial on how Stable Diffusion actually works. I think that's going to give you a better understanding of this, and you'll be able to use this parameter more effectively. So what the model is actually doing is that we start with just complete random noise, and then the model's job is actually to try and remove the noise, to denoise the image and recover this sort of imaginary original image that's hiding in it. And we use the prompt to kind of help guide it, right? To help it get a sense of what the image was supposed to be. And it doesn't do it all in one giant leap like this. It actually does it in this more iterative fashion. So that's what the step parameter is. We go from total random noise and then take these small steps to gradually clean it up, and end up with something that's completely removed of noise. I think what's important to understand about this process is that it's always going to start and end the same way. It's always going to start with this completely noisy image and end up with a noise-free one. So if we drop the number of steps to 10, for example, then really what we're doing is we're just dividing that process up into a smaller number of intervals. So it's got to make a more dramatic change at each step. And a misconception I had when I started out with this stuff is that I sort of assumed that if you did 10 steps, you'd end up here. And then if you tried it again with 20 steps, what that would do is just further refine this image. But that's not the case. You can tell that this image is not just a more refined version of this one. They've got a lot of similarities in terms of the overall appearance and color, but they've got a very different composition. So really what's happening is that depending on the size of these steps, you're going to end up in relatively different places. So here's a good illustration of that. If you only do 5 steps, you end up with this crazy situation. And then 10, and then 15. And then, I will say that once you get to a higher step count, they do tend to be a more consistent image, just a little kind of variations between them. So here's a different generation example. And I think the other common misconception is that if you just keep running for more steps, that's always going to produce a better result. And that's not necessarily the case. So here is the same prompt and same seed value, which we'll get to next, with different step counts. So 20 steps is definitely a softer image over here, and these others have more detail. But I think if I was going for a more detailed version, I'd probably pick one of these two in the middle. I'm not as much of a fan of the 50-step version here. And then if we go even higher, in this case, I'd actually say it's starting to introduce some errors. We're getting kind of different colored eyes here. The shape of the iris is getting less circular. This is definitely a very detailed one. It's pretty interesting, but again, a little bit of issues here with the irises being different. So that said, I also tried it with this wizard face, and I don't know, here this kind of maybe counters my point in that I went to a really high step count, and I don't know, I mean, that's pretty interesting. It is sort of a pretty cool design there. So really, Stable Diffusion is all about experimentation. You can try different things, but just don't make the mistake of assuming that a high step count is automatically going to give you something better. There's one other thing to know about the inference steps, and it has to do with cost and compute time. So Stable Diffusion is actually this massive, like just incredibly large neural network, and it is incredibly expensive to run. It takes trillions of mathematical operations to run through this model once. And each of those steps is a single run of the model. In order to do that, we use these really specialized GPUs from NVIDIA. It's their Tesla series. If you get the free version, free instance of Colab from Google, you'll get a Tesla T4. $2,300 was the original MSRP. So, not insane, but pretty expensive. If you switch to the premium one, you get an A100. The original MSRP on that was $32,000. So these are really expensive hardware. So there's a reason they charge for tools like Dream Studio. And so if you're using a paid tool, then you're going to see that the number of steps will affect how many credits it costs to run the model. So if I go from 30 down to 20, nope, that didn't change it. I was wrong. Yeah, there we go. If I go up from 30 to 50, then it doubled the cost of running it. So I guess they don't do quite as fine of a adjustment there. But and then similarly, if you're using a free tool, it's also going to affect how long it takes to generate your images. So a technique that people will use is that you can try running your generation and generate multiple images with a relatively low step count. So I generated 4 copies of that wizard image here. And we could kind of look at these. I might generate a handful more first and then pick one that we think is kind of cool. Like, I don't know. I think this one's pretty interesting, but it's a little messy. It'd be interesting to see how this one might turn out if we reran it, but with more steps. So it's kind of a lower step count can be a good way to preview images more quickly. And then you can go back using the seed value, which is what we'll cover in the next segment here, in order to try out different step counts.